This is not a Google phone. Yes, it's a Google Pixel 8a device, but it's running a more secure and private operating system called GrapheneOS. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to set up. For most of us, switching to a flip dumb phone just isn't the answer. We want modern day conveniences for a smartphone, just without all our data being sold to advertisers and being tracked by who knows who. And this is what you get with GrapheneOS. So let's do a couple of things. I'm going to show you how to install GrapheneOS and how to remove it if you don't like it and want to go back to your standard Android phone. But then I'm going to show you how to install your usual apps on your GrapheneOS phones, and then I'm going to show you how much control you have with GrapheneOS. This entire thing is not complicated and can be done in about 10 minutes whilst watching TV. But don't worry, I will slow it down for this video so that you can follow along and understand each step. I will suggest watching this video first before trying so you know what to expect and what you need. And speaking of need, you're going to need 4 things. The first is you're going to obviously need a phone. To get rid of Google, you're going to need a Google Pixel phone. And yes, I know the irony is not lost on me. At the time of this video, any phone from the Pixel 6 to the Pixel 9 Pro will work. Stay away from earlier models as they're no longer supported, no longer have firmware and security updates. You also want to make sure that you have a Google Pixel phone that is not a variant phone. What does that mean? That is a phone that is locked to a service provider like Verizon or T-Mobile or AT&T or any of your country's own local service providers. An unlocked phone is typically what you want. If you're buying a refurbished or a renewed phone, just look for in the ad where it says unlocked. But you need to make sure that the bootloader isn't locked. I'm going to explain more on that later, but for right now, just ask the seller to check on the phone if OEM unlocking option can be enabled in the developer option menu. If it can't, don't even buy that phone. This is a must-have, so do not skip that step. And believe it or not, that's the hardest part in this entire process. Now, the second thing you're going to need is a computer with at least 2 gigs of free memory and 32 gigs of free storage space. The third thing you're going to need is a Chromium browser. You can use Brave, just disable the Brave shields. I'm personally just going to use good old Google Chrome. And the fourth thing you're going to need is a USB cable, so you can connect your phone to your computer. Now, don't use a USB hub for this kind of stuff. Always connect directly to the computer. And that's it. And now the fun bit. Just make sure you got a backup of your phone, just so you got all your personal stuff off that device, because it is going to wipe it completely clean. And make sure it's got the latest update. And once you've done that, let's get going. Right, go to the settings on your Pixel phone and type there About, and then tap on the section called About Phone. Then scroll all the way to the bottom until you see Build Number and tap on that a whole bunch of times until you see you are now a developer. Congratulations. Now go one step back, look for System, and then scroll down until you see the developer options and tap into that. Scroll down here until you see the section that says OEM unlocking. Make sure you can enable that. When you do, you'll see this lovely warning message. Yeah, that's cool. Press on enable. Now grab your phone, find the volume down button, hold it down, then press on the power off button and then press on restart. Continue to hold the volume down button. You're gonna see a screen that looks like this. Now you can let go. Grab your USB cable that's plugged directly into your computer and plug it into your phone. Once it's in there, go to your web browser and go to the website grapheneos.org/install and click on the web USB installer. Scroll down until you see the unlock bootloader. You will see your phone there. Click on it and click on connect. Now, if you look at your phone, you'll see the screen immediately changes. At the top, it says do not unlock the bootloader, and you can use the volume keys to change the options. So what we want to do is we want to press the volume up or volume down button, and you see how we will change to unlock the bootloader. If change it again, it goes back to lock the bootloader. We want to unlock the bootloader and press the power button to confirm that option. And now you can see the red, it says now it's unlocked. On your web browser, it says bootloader unlocked. Perfect. It's ready to move on to the next step. And the next step is to download the factory images. And we're going to do that by clicking on the download release button. Now, this is obviously being sped up here. This can take a little while just depending on your bandwidth and your connectivity, but you've got to let it get to 100%. It's got to download properly. Once it's downloaded, it will say downloaded. If it doesn't or there are any issues, just start this process again. You've got to see the downloaded bit. Because the next option, as we scroll down, is flash release, which basically means it's going to set everything in motion to get it loaded on your device. Now, do not panic at this stage because you'll see your device, it reboots, it switches off, it switches on again. The important thing is just to leave it alone. Do not unplug anything at this stage. Once this is done, the next option is called lock the bootloader, which you already know how to do with the volume up and volume down button. Once it's locked, then you're going to press on the start button. And now it's going to reboot. And at this stage, you can actually unplug the USB from your phone. Now you will see this message. It's not an error message. It's just basically Google's way of saying, hey, you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. It's perfectly fine. And look at that. GrapheneOS is ready to roll. Congratulations, you've just installed it. And just like that, we replaced Google services with GrapheneOS. You've got to admit, that's pretty painless. Now, let's finish setting up the phone. Let's quickly set up the phone. The first thing I'm going to do is enable the Wi-Fi because, well, you're going to need it. So once you connect it to the Wi-Fi, the next thing is going to say date and time. Now, you'll notice it's in GMT because it has no idea where you are. So you're going to have to pick your own time zone. Already, this is looking much more promising than knowing your location. Speaking of location, you've got the option to enable or disable location services. You set up your PIN. You can set up fingerprints if you want to. You can restore apps from your previous devices. We're not going to do that. And now, congratulations, your phone is installed. But at the bottom, disable OEM unlocking. I want to make sure that's ticked and click start. And there it is. This is your Graphene phone. And if you swipe up from the bottom, you've got your app drawer. And if you swipe down, you're going to see all your usual stuff that you expected to see on your Pixel or your Android phones. And let's go into settings. Again, things that you're used to seeing. But you know what you're not going to find here? Is anything to do with Google. Look at that. Nothing. So the phone has virtually no pre-installed apps and certainly no Google. But wait a minute. If there's no Google, how do you get the Google Play Store to install the apps? Let me show you that. Open up the browser on your Graphene phone and go to f-droid.org and click on download f-droid. And you'll see this little message pops up and then click on download. When that finishes downloading, it's going to say, do you want to open it? Of course we do. Click on that and a security notice pops up saying, hey, are you sure you want to install this unknown app from the source? Yeah, we do. And then we want to click on allow to this to be installed. And then again, the same thing about the network permissions. And there it is. Now, don't panic when it looks blank. It just takes some time to populate it. Sometimes you have to close this down and go back into it again. But now let's click on the magnifying glass then. Let's do a search. Let's search for Instagram and still not here. What gives? Well, we needed this particular app store because we're going to search for Aurora Store within F-Droid. And now we're going to install that. So let's click the install button. We're going to give it permission because we've got that much control. And once it's installed, let's open that up. Now, the first screen you're going to see is this. Click on next. Now, installer permission. We want to click on grant. And we want to allow from this source so it can install apps for us. Let's go back. External storage manager. I like to enable this and I want to allow access to my files. So I'm going to enable that. And then we go one step back. Under the optional background downloads, well, I want to allow that to happen so apps can be updated in the background as we're used to right now. Notifications, well, click on the grant and then you can kind of make a choice. Do you want notification of any updates or any new apps in the store? Yes or no? Choose your picking. And under the app links, this is cool. Click on grant. Now at the bottom, you want to click on add link and put a check mark next to these two things. What that is, on websites where it says, do you want to download our app? And it's got a picture of the Google Play Store. Well, if you click on that, then it's going to open up the Aurora store for you. Now, here is what the store looks like. And you've got two choices. You can log in with Google, or you can log in anonymously. So no tracking. I'm going to click on login anonymously, and voila, finally, things we recognize. And here are all our favorite apps. So if we go now do a search for Instagram, guess what? Here it comes, and click on install, and now you can install your favorite apps. I can almost hear you breathing again. Just a note here about Aurora. If you use the anonymous login, you may find that at times the downloads fail. Just keep trying. This can happen because Google doesn't really dig the fact that the store even exists, and it's known to rate limit the access to it. I found that by keep hitting that install button, it eventually downloads. But don't worry, once the app is on your device, there are no more issues. Also, just check out some of the F-Droid apps. These are going to be apps that you typically may not even hear of. This is because F-Droid is a catalog of the free and open source software. This means that the source code of those apps is available, allowing anyone to verify the security and privacy features. And you may find some really cool apps in there. They're just not super popular. It also means that there is no Google tracking of what apps you actually download. And of course, there is no ads. Now, we started this entire journey by saying that GrapheneOS is all about security and privacy and control of your device. In one of my previous videos, I showed you why you should always switch your Wi-Fi off when you're not using it and why you should reboot your phone. Well, with GrapheneOS, you can do this. Right, let's open up the app drawer and let's click on settings. Now we want to scroll down until we see security and privacy. Click on that. And then we want to scroll down until we're going to see exploit protection. Now watch this. The first one, auto reboot. Click on that. Now this basically says, hey, if my phone hasn't been unlocked within a certain period of time, we need it to reboot. Cool way to protect your phone. And speaking of protection, USB-C port, look at this. By default, charging only when locked. And essentially, it's a way to give you control over your USB-C port. What do you want to happen with that port? Do you want it off completely? Do you want to charging only? Or I like the charging only when it's locked, because what that means is that the device goes into charging only mode when it's locked, but it gets disabled when the phone becomes unlocked, and therefore protects your USB-C port. And speaking of granular control, well, let's look at the turn off Wi-Fi automatically. We know that you should never have your Wi-Fi on the entire time. So here you have an option that after you don't use it for X number of minutes, it will just disable the Wi-Fi. And the same thing happens with Bluetooth. If nothing is connected, you're not using it, there's no reason for it to be on. Switch it off automatically. But wait, it gets even better, because the real magic of GrapheneOS is in this. This is probably my favorite feature on the Graphene phone. So you click on settings, watch this. You go down until you see system, tap on that. Then you scroll down until you see users, tap on that. And now you can see you are the owner, you're the only person on this phone. I can enable allow switch users. I can even have a guest user, which basically limits what people can do on the phone. But I can also create a new user, a brand new user to use this device. Here is why you want to do that. Click on next. It wants to give it a username. Now, I don't like calling my stuff like secret or private, so I want to give it a name, something that I'm going to recognize exactly what that is. So let's put in there something like Susan. Okay, Susan, S for Susan, S for secret. Okay, so if somebody sees the profile called secret, well, they're going to ask questions. But if they see Susan, probably nobody's going to bat an eyelid. So I create a profile called Susan, click on done. Then, under the Susan profile, there's a couple of options here. It says, allow apps to run in the background. No, I do not want the second profile to automatically run their apps. I want to keep them separate, so I've got control. The next thing I want to look at, install available apps. These are the apps I've already downloaded. There's no point in Susan downloading a second bunch of apps. So here I go, and I enable the Aurora store and the NordPass and NordVPN, because my Susan profile is going to be where I keep all my privacy stuff. So I do that. Now watch this. Let's close this down. Now from the top, we're going to swipe down, and we're going to a little button at the bottom there. Looks like a little head. We want to tap on that, and now it shows me all the profiles on this phone. I got my owner, which is my main profile. It's got nothing in there, but I want to click on Susan. So let's do that. Watch what happens now. It reboots into Susan's profile, and it's the first time I'm doing it, so it wants me to set it up. Don't worry, it's not the full setup, just limited, creating a PIN, because Susan, my secret profile, can have a different PIN and different fingerprints as well. And now, cool as that. That gives me an entire profile that has just got the Aurora store, the NordPass, and the NordVPN, and is completely separate from my main profile. So, why on earth would I want to have a separate profiles on my device? Now, you can definitely have just one profile, but the reason that you want multiple profiles is because each one is treated independently of the other. One profile cannot see the other profile or their apps that are installed. Each profile is basically sandboxed in its own little world. So basically, you can have your work apps on one profile, and you can have your personalized profile, which has all your daily personal apps. You can have another profile that has your banking apps or your two-factor authentication apps, much like I have with my Susan profile. So in the event that your phone is stolen, lost, sensitive information is actually locked away under a whole new PIN. And that's great for security and privacy. And another benefit of having multiple profiles is that the apps themselves in one profile cannot share information with other apps in the other profile. As right now, this can happen on your standard Android phone. But you must be thinking, since we don't have Google services, what about apps that actually rely on Google services to work, like Google Drive and YouTube? What are we going to do about those? No problem, I got you. What we're going to do is create a Google user profile on the device, and only in that profile we're going to enable Google stuff, which is only going to be active when you actually need to use it. Let me show you that. Right, so here I've got my Google stuff profile, so I'm going to open that and switch to that. Of course, I'm going to put in my PIN. Now, watch this. Click on the App Store, scroll down to the bottom, and you see Google Play Services. Now, I'm going to click on Install and let this thing run. Takes a little bit of time to do. And then, of course, I want to give it network permissions so it can use the internet. Once that's done, I'm going to install Android Auto, so I've got access to that as well. And it's only under this profile. So now, when I open up the Aurora store, I can then type in there Google, and now it's going to show me all the Google apps. So let's look for something like Google Drive. That's something that I use quite often. There's Google Drive. I click on it. I click on install, and after it's done, well, guess what? It's going to ask me to log in to my Gmail account. Now, just to show you that it does only work under this profile, I've switched over to my other profile. If I go look at Google Play Services, it still needs to be installed here. So you can see it's only under that one profile. So now that you have your privacy-focused phone, the only weak link is now the cellular provider that you connect to. I mean, AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, and others have all been hacked. And there are legal cases out there where users of those networks are entitled to a whole bunch of compensation. Okay, some compensation. On top of that, part of their entire business model is to collect and sell our data. And when you dive into just how much data is being collected, it's pretty darn shocking. Just look at how detailed all this stuff is. So, a beautiful natural companion to a privacy-focused phone is a privacy-focused cellular provider that doesn't collect your data and doesn't sell it. And this is where CAPE comes in. I have an entire video where I show you exactly how this works and how their entire network is actually built from the get-go with security and privacy of its users in mind. They even have a 24-word passphrase cryptography to eliminate those SIM swap attacks. And the best bit is, of course, you can use your GrapheneOS phone to connect to their network. You simply install the app from the Aurora App Store. A security-focused operating system on the phone connecting to a security-focused cellular provider is the perfect match. I have a link in the description so you can check that out, and of course I'm going to link to that previous video so you can dive into that if you haven't seen that. Now, if all said and done, and you've played with your GrapheneOS and decided, you know what, you don't need this, you don't like it, let me show you how quickly you can switch back to your Google Pixel system. I'm slowing it down for this tutorial, but it really just takes a couple of minutes. So go into your settings on your Graphene phone, scroll down until you see About Phone, and scroll all the way to the bottom, and you got your build number. Tap on it a bunch of times. This looks familiar. Put in your PIN number, and then you want to go back, and then you want to find the developer option. You can just search for it. Then when you get there, you want to scroll down until you see OEM unblocking. And exactly the same thing as we did to get to this page, you want to make sure that that's enabled. Then you want to scroll down until you're going to see something called USB debugging. You want to enable that, and you click on OK to allow that. And that's pretty much what you need for your phone. Okay, next up, grab the USB cable, and that's connected straight to your computer, not via a USB hub. Always safer to do it that way. Now that that's connected, you want to open up the website called flash.android.com, and you'll see this website. Now at the bottom, you'll see the Android USB driver. If you don't have that, you want to click on that and follow the instructions. I will say that most of the times that I've done this, the drivers were already installed. So I'm going to click already installed. Now at the top, you want to click on unblocking a pop-up for this particular website because you need to see this screen. Click on allow ADB access and it takes you to this screen. So let's ignore that other stuff, install the Android drivers, blah, 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 enable developer mode. We've already done that. Plug in your device. We've already done that. You want to click on add device at the very bottom option, and there is your Pixel phone. Click on connect. And then you'll see this screen that pops up. So head over to your phone, and if you look at your phone, a little message pops up. There we go. Allow USB debugging, and we're going to click on allow. Now, back onto your computer. Once it's enabled, it's going to show you this. Now, there's a whole bunch of options here. Don't worry about any of those. Beta, the different versions. The one we want to look at is back to public. That is the official public release of the Android software. We want to click on that. Then we want to click on install build. And then we'll see this screen, a whole bunch of warnings. Everything's going to be deleted off the phone. Yeah, we know that. Obviously, we want to click on confirm. Once we've confirmed, this little license agreement pops up. Yeah, of course, you're going to accept. And then unlocking the bootloader. Remember, we've done that before on the device itself. So let's just go ahead and do that again. So look at the device, unlock the bootloader using the volume up and down key. Click OK. And then let this thing run. Again, it's going to reboot a whole bunch of time. Just let this thing play out. It does take a while. I'm just fast forwarding this. At the end, when it's all done, it's going to say, hey, we need to lock your device again. Click on start. So pick up your device, look at it. At the top, we're going to change the volume button, lock the bootloader, and then press the power button. That's pretty much it. Device is locked. Installation is now complete. It is now safe to unplug the device. Let it boot up. And lo and behold, welcome to Pixel. You're back to normal. And if you want to run through the setup process, you can see I'm just obviously fast forwarding this. I wish I could type that quickly. And here we go. The device is back to normal as if GrapheneOS never existed. And that's how it's done. I will say this is the best solution I've found so far that allows you to still have a smartphone, still have your apps, but still regain control of your privacy and your data. And on top of that, when you connect to Cape as your cellular provider, you are literally having the best possible situation to take control. You have to see what Cape can do in this video right over here, and check out why you should always switch your Wi-Fi over here. Before you head out, don't forget to give the video a quick thumbs up if you liked it. I'm going to see you in this video, or I'm going to see you in both. Let's go.